She called me at 3 a.m. crying from jail, begging me to pay an $8,000 club bill she said her dad covered. Hi, I'm Mason, 31, and the last words I ever heard from my fiancée before I blocked her number were, "You don't leave someone you love in jail." She was wearing a sequin dress, crying in a Miami police station, and trying to guilt me into paying her $8,000 club tab. Let me back up, because the story that got us there is absolutely unhinged. Tiffany was the kind of woman who turned heads and knew it. Designer bags, perfect nails, expensive coffee, and an Instagram grid that looked like a fashion magazine. The problem? She made $40,000 a year and spent like she made $200,000. I make good money in commercial HVAC, very good actually, but I didn't grow up with money. I knew how fast life could flip. I budget. I save. I don't fund someone else's champagne lifestyle because they like shiny things. Tiffany, on the other hand, saw money as something that should magically appear when the vibes required it. We'd been engaged for 8 months. Lived apart by choice, my idea. I wanted to make sure we were financially and emotionally aligned before signing a lease together. Turned out, smart move. Tiffany had this circle of college friends who all married rich. They lived in a constant loop of rooftop brunches, overpriced spa retreats, and $3,000 weekend getaways, like it was normal. When Tiffany couldn't keep up, they treated her like a charity case. She'd come home upset and immediately want to drag me into the comparison game. Madison's fiancé just bought her a Cartier bracelet. You can't even split a bottle of wine? Every time I said, we need to live within our means. I became the villain. They were the glittery standard, and I was the peasant holding her back. Then came Madison's engagement party. One of those ridiculous ultra-luxury affairs downtown. Tiffany borrowed a dress from a roommate, and I wore my nicest button-up. The whole night, I watched her shrink. The ring comparisons. The honeymoon destination name-dropping. The moment she saw Madison's 3-carat ring, I could feel her resentment calcify like plaque. The next day, she started dropping hints about upgrading her own ring. I shut that down real fast. She pouted, played the, "but I just want to feel special" card, and I could see it, clear as day, that she didn't want me. She wanted the lifestyle. I was a placeholder husband. A future provider. A mannequin she could drape in luxury once she found the right credit card. Then came the Miami trip. She didn't ask. She announced it. Bachelorette weekend. 5-star resort. Bottle service. Yacht rentals. Total cost, $3,000 per person, and she wanted me to cover hers and her sister's. As an engagement gift. I nearly choked on my sandwich. When I said, absolutely not, she accused me of being a controlling, unsupportive man. Told me I was embarrassing her. I told her she could choose, the Miami trip or the fiancé. She left that night. I thought maybe that was the end. 3 days later, she came back grinning. It's all handled, she said. My dad offered to cover the trip. Which was interesting, because I thought he cut her off 2 years ago. But hey, if he wanted to bankroll his daughter's personal Real Housewives audition, I wasn't stopping him. So she flew to Miami, suitcases overflowing, selfies nonstop. First-class seats. $60 appetizers. Poolside cabanas. Yacht photos. I watched the trip unfold like an episode of someone else's life. The money flowing like water, and something in my gut kept tightening. Then came the 3 a.m. call from the club. Her voice was shaking. Her card declined. The tab was $8,000. Security had their IDs. They're calling the police unless we pay in cash right now. Please, baby, I need $2,000. Please. And just like that, all the fake luxury crashed into reality. She thought I'd fix it. She thought I was her safety net. She thought wrong. Call your dad, I said and hung up. I turned off my phone, rolled over, and slept better than I had in weeks. At 9 a.m., when I turned my phone back on, it buzzed like a dying fire alarm. Missed calls from Tiffany. Unknown numbers. Frantic texts like a soap opera script. Baby, please, I'm begging you. They took our purses. You're leaving me here? And then, the one that actually made me smile. This is emotional abuse. At 11 a.m., I got a call from a Miami number. I almost let it go to voicemail. But something told me this one was different. Is this Mason, right? A stern voice asked. This is Sergeant Rodriguez, Miami Beach PD. We have your fiancée, Tiffany Walsh, in custody. She asked us to contact you regarding bail arrangements. Yep. There it was. I felt a weird cocktail of emotions. Not surprise. Not panic. Mostly, confirmation. What are the charges? I asked. Theft of services. Disorderly conduct. She and 3 other women failed to pay for a substantial club bill. When officers arrived, Ms. Walsh became belligerent and resisted instructions. So she's okay? I asked. She's fine. No injuries. She'll be released once someone posts bail, $1,000 cash or bond. The club is also seeking restitution of approximately $8,000. He paused. She believed you'd be handling it. I chuckled, but not out of amusement. Out of disbelief. Tell Tiffany she should contact her family or friends. I won't be covering this. I'm not in Miami, and I won't be paying a cent. The officer was quiet for a second too long. Sir, are you certain? Dead certain, I said. I didn't swipe her credit cards. I didn't lie about who was paying for this trip. And I sure as hell didn't spend thousands trying to impress a bunch of wannabe influencers. Understood, he said. We'll let her know. Click. And just like that, the dam broke. Texts from her friends poured in like angry Yelp reviews. You're disgusting. You abandoned your fiancé. Real men take care of their woman. I wanted to reply, real women don't throw $500 bottles on a credit card and expect their man to be the cleanup crew. Instead, I blocked every number. Then, around 3 p.m., came a new number I hadn't seen before. Tiffany's dad. Mason, he said without so much as a hello. We need to talk. Oh, we were going to talk, all right. About what, Mr. Walsh? I said flat. He didn't waste time. My daughter is in jail because her fiancé refused to help her in an emergency. I almost laughed. Emergency? This wasn't a car crash. It was a nightclub tab. One she ran up pretending to be royalty. She's in jail, I said calmly, because she lied about who was funding her Miami trip, maxed out her credit cards, and tried to manipulate me into bailing her out at 3 a.m. You should have called me, he snapped. I would have handled it. You mean like she told me you already were? Funny, because she said you paid for the whole trip. Silence. Then a sigh so deep I could practically hear him rubbing his temples through the phone. We haven't given Tiffany a cent in over 2 years. She blew through her trust fund in 6 months and kept demanding more. We said no. She told you I paid for Miami? Yup. Well, he muttered. Then I suppose you finally got the full picture. And there it was. The truth I'd suspected all along, dropped like a brick on the table. She has around $40,000 in credit card debt, he said, voice low. Maybe more now. This trip likely added another 15, maybe 20 grand. I didn't even speak. I just leaned back on my couch and stared at the ceiling, letting the math run itself. $60,000 in debt. That she never mentioned. That she was planning to drag into our marriage. You deserve to know, Mr. Walsh said. Because I don't think she was ever going to tell you. That hit harder than the number. Because deep down, I knew he was right. Tiffany hadn't made a mistake, she'd made a plan. Marry a guy with a solid paycheck. Offload the debt. Keep pretending. Designer bags, luxury lifestyle, no consequences. Mason, he said softer now. I'll take care of the bail and the legal mess. She's still my daughter. But you might want to rethink what kind of life you want to sign up for. I thanked him. Not just for the call, but for being honest, more honest than his daughter had ever been. That night, Tiffany called me from the airport. Her dad bailed her out. They were flying home. Her voice cracked as she spoke. I'm so sorry, she said. I messed up. I was scared, and I didn't know what else to do. Please don't leave me. You lied, I said. Over and over. You put me in a position where my options would be the bad guy or pay off your fantasy. You didn't make a mistake, Tiffany. You made choices. We can fix this, she begged. I'll cut up the credit cards. I'll get help. We'll get through it. No, I said. I will get through it. Alone. She cried. I didn't. I blocked her number that night. Then I gathered the few things she'd left at my place, an electric toothbrush, a sweatshirt, 2 luxury shampoo bottles, and dropped them in a box labeled return to sender. The next morning, Tiffany showed up at my door. Still in yesterday's clothes. Mascara streaked. Hair in a messier bun than usual, like she tried to make herself look pitiful on purpose. The moment I opened the door, she launched into her Hail Mary speech. Please, Mason. Don't throw away everything over one weekend. I held up the box. You lied about who paid for your trip. You ran up $8,000 in one night, then called me at 3 a.m., like I was your personal banker. You hid $60,000 in debt from me. This isn't one weekend, Tiffany. This is a pattern. She reached for my arm. But I love you. No, you love what I could do for you. What I could pay for. You saw me as a walking solution to your lifestyle addiction. That's not love. That's strategy. Her voice cracked. You're being cruel. No, I said. I'm being clear. She begged. She sobbed. She did the whole tragic heroine act on my porch, like we were starring in a Netflix drama called The Designer Deceiver. But I didn't budge. I don't love who you've become, I said. And I'm not signing up for a marriage where your mistakes become my debt. That was when the mask cracked. You're a coward, she hissed. You think you're better than me because you save money and fix air conditioners? Good luck finding someone who'll love you after this. No woman wants a man who nickel and dimes her. I just nodded. And no man wants a wife who thinks financial abuse is when her credit card gets declined. She stormed off. Barefoot. Screaming into her phone, probably calling Charlotte or Madison or whatever spoiled friend was next on the list of enablers. I closed the door and stood in the quiet, surrounded by peace that didn't cost $3,000 a night or come with bottle service. A few hours later, I got a text from her friend Charlotte. You destroyed her. I hope you're happy, I replied. I didn't destroy her. I just stopped being her sponsor. Blocked her too. By the end of the week, word had spread. Her friends lit up my social media like Christmas lights, DMs, tags, vague subtweets about narcissistic men who abandon women during mental health crises. I didn't respond. Because I knew something they didn't. This wasn't a crisis. It was accountability. And for the first time in her life, Tiffany was standing in it, heels off, lashes smudged, and absolutely broke. By Friday, I was getting calls from numbers I didn't recognize. Some I ignored. Some I answered just to confirm what I already knew. Tiffany's financial life was imploding in real time. Charlotte left me a voicemail screaming that I was financially abusive for not rescuing Tiffany from the consequences of, wait for it, her own fraud. Madison sent me a text so passive-aggressive it was basically performance art. Some of us take our friendship seriously. Sad you couldn't be there for her like we are. I didn't reply. Mostly because I was busy laughing. These were the same women who mocked Tiffany behind her back whenever she couldn't afford their nonsense. Now they were her ride-or-die crew. Please. But the best part, the Oscar for Best Supporting Narcissist, went to Tiffany's cousin, Lauren, who DM'd me on Instagram with, "You'll regret this when she levels up without you." I replied with one word. Debt. Blocked. And then, like clockwork, Tiffany's boss emailed me. Apparently, she'd called out, sick, for 3 straight days after the Miami meltdown and hadn't checked in once. She was being let go. I wasn't sure why they thought I needed to know, until I saw the last line. She listed you as her emergency contact. I emailed back. Please remove me from all future correspondence. I am no longer associated with Ms. Walsh. That should have been the end of it. But then came her dad. Again. He showed up at my job. Walked right into the HVAC office like he was there to fix a compressor. Asked the receptionist to speak with me. As a man. I stepped into the hallway. He looked tired. No custom blazer this time. Just khakis and a weathered expression. I just want to ask, he said. Are you really done with her? Yes, I said. I was done when she turned love into leverage. He nodded. Didn't argue. Didn't blame me. Just stood there, holding a legal folder. This is the credit report, he said. In case you need proof. I took it. $72,498 in unsecured debt. Not including the $12,000 from the club in Miami, which was now in collections. She moved back in with us, he said. Lost her apartment. And, well, we're hiring a debt counselor. But it's a long road. I looked at him. For the first time, really looked. This wasn't a dad in denial. This was a man who finally saw the storm his daughter had become. I'm sorry you had to go through this, he said. And for a moment, I believed him. We shook hands. He left. And I was left standing in the hallway, holding a folder full of someone else's chaos, realizing how close I came to marrying into it. That weekend I bought a house. Small place. Good bones. Quiet neighborhood. No drama. No unpaid bottle service. Just peace. Paid for with cash. Monday morning, I woke up to an envelope on my windshield. No stamp. No name. Just my first name written in blue glitter pen. Inside? A handwritten note from Tiffany. Pages of it. Full cursive apology. Perfume on the paper. A little smudge on the corner like maybe, it was touched by a real tear. The whole thing read like a scene from a CW drama. Her words swinging between guilt and guilt trip like a pendulum powered by denial. She wrote things like, I know I let my ego control me. I was scared you'd stop loving me if I looked poor. I didn't know how to ask for help, so I just expected it. She also wrote, maybe if you'd made me feel safe, I wouldn't have lied. There it was. That classic Tiffany twist. Apology with a dash of blame, shaken not stirred. At the bottom of the last page was a postscript in a different pen. I started therapy. I want to change. I don't expect you to come back. But maybe one day you'll be proud of me. I didn't respond. Because healing doesn't start with sending a monologue to your ex. It starts with honesty, and Tiffany was still sugarcoating her debt with drama. I tucked the letter into a drawer labeled Unsent Invitations, alongside a wedding RSVP card I never mailed and a rental agreement she never got around to signing. Later that day, her friend Sarah DM'd me again. I hadn't heard from her since the Miami drama, but now she'd apparently been recruited to Tiffany's redemption campaign. She's really trying, Mason. She's broke, humiliated, and actually listening for once. Isn't that what you wanted? I thought about it. No. I didn't want her to hit rock bottom. I just wanted her to stop dragging me down with her. I replied. Tell her I wish her well. But my life is peaceful now. And peace doesn't come with a +1. Blocked. Again. By Tuesday, Tiffany was back on Instagram. Not with old champagne photos or yacht angles. This time it was selfies in workout clothes, therapy quotes, and captions like, resetting. But you could tell it wasn't real yet. It was still performance. Still curated. Still designed for someone to look at her and say, she's doing amazing, sweetie. I didn't say anything. I just focused on my job, my house, and figuring out how to install a smart thermostat that didn't require an engineering degree. But even as I moved on, I knew one thing for sure. She hadn't hit the bottom yet. Not really. Because people don't change until they decide to. And Tiffany? She was still editing the caption on her consequences. 2 weeks passed. Silence. No texts. No voicemails. No glitter bombs taped to my truck. I thought maybe, that was the end. Then, on a Thursday afternoon, my boss stuck his head into my office holding an envelope like it was radioactive. You've got a visitor. Sort of. What kind of visitor? He held up the envelope. Tiffany's handwriting. She didn't come inside, he said. Ask the front desk to pass this along. Inside the envelope? A check. Made out to me. For $2,000. In the memo line. For the club night. I want to take responsibility. There was no note this time. Just the check, neatly folded, and a little Polaroid tucked inside of us at our engagement dinner. She'd circled her own face in ink and written one word underneath. Sorry. I stared at that check for a long time. This was the first time Tiffany had ever attempted to pay for her own mess. The amount didn't cover the full damage, not even close, but the gesture? It was something. Still, something about it felt off. She could have Venmo'd me. Could have mailed it. Could have donated the money to a therapist's office and called it a day. But no. She wanted the moment. She wanted me to know she was trying. She wanted me to hand her the gold star and say, good job. You've changed. But change isn't a check. It's a pattern. It's paying back the lies, not just the money. And I wasn't interested in grading her progress like I was the professor of Financial Reckonings 101. So I ripped the check in half. Tossed it in the shredder next to the copy machine. Then I took the Polaroid, walked outside to the dumpster behind the building, and tossed it in. Her circled face stared up at me from the bottom of a pizza box. No malice. Just closure. That night, she called again. Blocked number. I didn't pick up. But she left a voicemail I'll never forget. Mason, she said, voice quiet. I really thought if I could just fix one thing, you'd see that I'm serious. I miss you. Not the money. Not the life. You. The real you. But maybe you're right. Maybe it's too late. She was crying by the end. For real this time. And for the first time since this whole disaster started. I almost felt bad. But I didn't regret anything. Because growth doesn't always mean giving someone a second chance. Sometimes it just means not answering the phone. A month after the Miami meltdown, I was sitting on the back porch of my new place, coffee in hand, dog at my feet, watching the sun crawl over my quiet, paid-off lawn, when Eliza called. Eliza, Tiffany's sister. We'd always been chill. She was the opposite of Tiffany, quiet, sarcastic, lived in hoodies and no makeup days. During the engagement, she told me more than once. You sure you're up for being married to a fashion hurricane? Now, she sounded awkward. Hey, Mason, hope this isn't weird. But I just wanted to say, thank you. For what? I asked. For not marrying her. I blinked. Okay, wasn't expecting that. She laughed, more bitter than funny. I moved in with her after she lost her place. Just temporary, I thought. Mason, I lasted 6 days. 6. She ordered sushi twice a day. Tried to Venmo request me for paper towels. She's still living in some delusion where she's the victim and you're the villain. That checks out. She's been telling people you emotionally manipulated her. Eliza continued. That you dangled money to control her. I groaned. Of course she did. But she's also been telling people she still loves you. Like maybe if she heals fast enough, you'll change your mind. That hit weird. Not because I missed her. I didn't. But because that version of love, the one where someone earns you back like a free toaster after so many credit card points, was the exact reason I'd left in the first place. Look, Eliza said, I'm not calling to stir stuff. Just wanted you to know not everyone bought her story. Some of us saw the truth a long time ago. She was never looking for a partner. She was looking for a sponsor with good lighting. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Thanks, Eliza, I said. Really? We hung up. I sat in the silence. And that's when I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. Not at Tiffany. Not at her friends. Not even at myself for staying as long as I did. I was just done. The rage had been replaced by clarity. Love isn't about big rings or lavish trips or who picks up the tab. It's about respect. Transparency. The ability to screw up and admit it, not dress it up in filters and fake apologies. Tiffany never understood that. Maybe someday she will. But I won't be around to find out. 2 months later, I got an email from Twalsh. official@gmail.com. Yup. Tiffany had made a new Gmail account just to reach me. Subject line. One last thing. Against my better judgment, and because morbid curiosity is a hell of a drug, I opened it. It was short. Mason. I know you're probably rolling your eyes, but I promise this isn't a trap. I'm in therapy now, real therapy, not just Instagram story vibes. My counselor says I need to take ownership, so this is me doing that. You were right. I treated you like a financial plan, not a partner. I lied. I manipulated. I ruined the one relationship that was actually trying to build something solid. I've sold most of my designer stuff. I'm doing DoorDash until I can find another job. I moved out of my parents' house. I'm paying off the credit cards, slowly. But it's happening. I don't expect anything from you. Not forgiveness, not closure, not a second chance. I just wanted to say thank you for walking away. If you hadn't, I probably would have kept pretending until we both drown. You didn't fail me. You saved me. Tiffany. I stared at the screen for a while. No anger. No smugness. Just something like peace. I didn't respond. Not because I didn't believe her. But because I finally realized the response wasn't mine to give. Her growth, or crash, wasn't my responsibility anymore. And in that detachment? Freedom. Later that week, I went to a housewarming barbecue a coworker was throwing. Nothing fancy. Lawn chairs. Cheap beer. A Bluetooth speaker that kept cutting out. That's where I met Harper. She worked in architecture. Wore jeans like she meant it. Brought a homemade peach pie. Didn't once mention what kind of car she drove. We ended up talking for 3 straight hours. About credit unions, dog food, favorite ramen spots, and whether ghosts were just unresolved Wi-Fi signals. She didn't ask what I did for a living until I mentioned it casually. Didn't flinch when I told her I used to be engaged. You dodged a Prada-wrapped bullet, she said. We laughed. She didn't ask to see my house. She asked if I liked living in it. That was new. And exactly what I needed. A few weeks after that barbecue, Harper and I had our third date, coffee and a trip to the used bookstore where we both accidentally reached for the same beat-up copy of The Martian. She gave it to me. I gave it right back. I already read it. I lied. I hadn't. She smiled like she knew and let me keep it anyway. No makeup. No designer bag. No performance. Just a woman who asked questions like, "What's your weirdest childhood fear?" and didn't flinch when I told her mine was accidentally marrying someone like Tiffany again. She laughed and said, "Mine's frogs. Yours might be more rational." I didn't expect to like someone again this soon. I definitely didn't expect to feel safe. But Harper wasn't Tiffany. She didn't want a grand performance. She wanted real. One night, over pad thai and takeout spring rolls, she asked, "What happened with your ex?" The full version. No filters. So I told her. All of it. The credit card debt. The club disaster. The 3 a.m. call. The voicemail from jail. The fake apology tour. The $2,000 check in a glitter pen envelope. She didn't interrupt. Didn't judge. Just let me get it all out. When I finished, she just said, "Sounds like she wanted you to rescue her from herself." "Yeah," I said. "But I don't do that anymore." She nodded slowly, like I'd passed a test I didn't know I was taking. "Good," she said. "I don't need a rescuer. I just need someone who won't ghost when the Wi-Fi goes down." I laughed so hard I almost choked on a spring roll. She reached across the table, took my hand, and said, "Your ex turned a gift into a trap. That's not on you." And just like that, it hit me. I wasn't carrying Tiffany anymore. Not her debt. Not her lies. Not her damage. That weight was gone. And in its place? Something that actually felt like a beginning. Tiffany's name still popped up sometimes. Not in my phone, she stayed blocked there, but in weird places. A tagged photo on Instagram. A second-hand story from a mutual acquaintance. One of those, "Where is she now?" kinds of updates. Last I heard, she was working part-time at a boutique and attending financial counseling twice a week. She'd shaved her fake lifestyle down to the bones. No more bottle service, no more fake tan-and-trip montages. She sold the last of her designer bags in a Facebook group and moved into a studio apartment over a deli. She posted a quote one day that someone sent me. "Rock bottom isn't the end. It's where you finally find a floor to build from." Cool. Still didn't mean I wanted to help lay the foundation. Meanwhile, my own life was quietly, steadily becoming something solid. Harper and I weren't rushing anything. She still had her own place, I still had mine. But she kept a toothbrush at my house, and one night while we were making chili, she opened a cabinet, saw Tiffany's old wine glass set shoved in the back, and said, "You want to get rid of this?" Without hesitation, I grabbed a box. It felt like exorcising the last ghost. That weekend, I went through the rest of the apartment. The drawer of engagement stuff, gone. The dusty wedding planning notebook, shredded. The Polaroid that escaped the dumpster somehow, finally thrown out. No rage. No ritual. Just a clean space for a cleaner life. I was putting the last box on the curb when my neighbor Greg leaned over the fence with a beer in hand and said, "You moving out or moving on?" I smiled. "Little bit of both." He nodded. "About time. You've been walking around like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop." "Yeah," I said. But turns out, the shoe wasn't mine. Inside, Harper was putting away groceries and humming something off-key. My dog barked at a squirrel like it owed him money. And for the first time in a long, long while, I didn't feel like a man escaping anything. I felt like someone finally home. The strangest part? I started hearing from her friends. Not the toxic clique. The Madisons and Charlottes were long gone, having dropped Tiffany faster than a trending diet when she stopped being the rich one. No, these were the side characters. Old coworkers, an old roommate, even her ex-college RA, who messaged me randomly on LinkedIn of all places. The tone was always the same. You did the right thing. We saw how she acted and wondered how long it would take you. Honestly, we were rooting for you to get out. It felt weird, like strangers were confirming an escape I already survived. Even one of her old bridesmaids, Allison, I think, sent me a text. She used to brag about how you would never leave no matter what. Guess she finally ran out of no matter whats. No glee in it. Just facts. And I realized, Tiffany didn't just burn the bridge with me. She torched the whole damn neighborhood. Meanwhile, I was building something real. Harper and I were taking weekend trips, nothing fancy. Small towns, thrift stores, diners with laminated menus. Places where no one cared what you wore or how many followers you had. She made me laugh at 6 a.m. She always carried cash, just in case. And she never once posted a photo with a caption like #healing. She just lived. And so did I. One night, we sat on my porch watching a thunderstorm roll in. The air smelled like dirt and summer. Harper handed me a cup of tea and said, totally unprompted, "You seem lighter now." I thought about it. I was. I'd spent a year learning how to hold up someone else's world, constantly worried that if I stepped away, it would all collapse on me. But the truth was, it was never my job to hold it up. And when I finally let go, it collapsed on its own. Now, I don't carry anyone. But I walk beside someone. Big difference. It wasn't until mid-September that Tiffany tried one last time, her version of a Hail Mary. She showed up at my house. Unannounced. I'd just gotten back from a weekend trip with Harper. Boots still muddy from a hiking trail, cooler still in the back seat, when I saw her silver sedan parked half on the curb like it hadn't passed inspection in a while. Tiffany stood at the top of my driveway, arms crossed, sunglasses on even though the sky was overcast. I almost turned around and drove off. But then she saw me. Too late. "Mason," she said soft, like we were in some kind of indie movie reunion scene. "I know I'm the last person you want to see, but I needed to try." "Try what?" I asked, keys still in the ignition. She took off her sunglasses slowly, like the moment deserved drama. "I want to pay you back. All of it." I blinked. "All of what?" "All the money I ever guilted you into spending. The dinners, the gifts, the club night. I know it'll take me years. But I've started a spreadsheet. I got a second job at night. I'm serious." I didn't say anything. I just looked at her. No makeup, faded jeans, hair tied back in a real, messy ponytail. And for the first time since all of this, she looked human. Not curated. Not filtered. Not a performance. Just tired. "I'm not asking to get back together," she added quickly. "I'm just trying to fix what I broke." That part actually landed. I nodded. "I respect that. I really do. But you don't owe me money, Tiffany. You owe yourself peace. And you won't get there by treating every past mistake like a balance sheet." She looked like she wanted to argue. But then she stopped. And she did something I didn't expect. She said, "Okay." No tears. No tantrum. Just, okay. She got back in her car and drove off. Didn't look back. Neither did I. That night, Harper and I ate leftovers on the couch. She asked if I was okay. I told her the truth. I think I just watched a ghost bury itself. And she smiled. 6 months later, I ran into Tiffany again. Total accident. I was at a local small business fair, helping my buddy set up a booth for his HVAC referral program. Free pens, branded water bottles, a raffle for a smart thermostat, very thrilling stuff. And there she was. Across the lot, working a table for a nonprofit. Hair shorter. Posture different. No heels, no glam, no ring light in sight. Just Tiffany. A name tag. A clipboard. For half a second, we both froze. Then she gave me a nod. Not a sad one. Not hopeful either. Just respectful. Like two people who once survived something together, even if one of them had set the fire. She didn't approach me. Didn't make a scene. Just went back to helping some older woman fill out a form. I didn't interrupt. Later, I passed her booth on the way to the food trucks. She looked up and gave me a small wave. I gave one back. That was it. No words. No guilt trip. No performance. It was the cleanest ending we ever got. I told Harper about it that night. She was quiet for a moment, then said, "I hope she's okay." I nodded. "Yeah. I think she might be." Finally. And I realized something I hadn't noticed before. I didn't feel angry. Or smug. Or haunted. I just felt free. Fully, finally, irrevocably free. The chapter wasn't just closed. It was filed away in some old drawer of my life I no longer needed to open. Tiffany could rebuild her life however she wanted. I'd already started building mine. Was someone who didn't need rescuing, didn't need fixing, and never once confused love with a luxury item. It was a quiet Sunday when I finally opened the drawer. Not a metaphor, an actual drawer. Bottom of my desk. The one where I'd shoved everything from that year of chaos. Engagement photos, unopened cards, the torn check, and one glitter-covered bride vibes keychain that somehow survived every purge. I stared at the mess of it all, wondering why I'd kept any of it. Then I realized I hadn't. That version of me, the guy who ignored red flags, who mistook performance for partnership, who thought love meant constantly proving himself, he had kept it. I just never bothered to clean up after him. So I did. I took the whole drawer, dumped it into a box, sealed it with a strip of duct tape, and walked it straight to the trash. Then I came back inside, poured myself a whiskey, and sat on the porch as Harper pulled into the driveway. She climbed out of her car wearing paint-splattered jeans, holding 2 bags of groceries and a crooked little smile. Got the stuff for chili. You in? I'm always in for chili, I said. She leaned against the porch railing next to me and sipped from my glass. You seem weirdly zen. That chili meditation working for you? I laughed. Yeah. Something like that. Because the truth was, it wasn't Tiffany that wrecked me. It was what I believed I had to be for her. And now? That version of me was long gone. In his place stood someone who could breathe easy, trust himself, and love without holding his breath. Harper nudged me. You good? I'm great. And I meant it. One evening in early spring, I came home to find Harper in the backyard with a tape measure in one hand and a notebook in the other. She was muttering to herself about lattice panels and trellis heights like she was preparing for battle. What are we building? I asked, stepping onto the porch. She turned around, hair tied back, pencil behind her ear. A garden wall. Maybe grapes. Maybe tomatoes. Depends how ambitious we get. Ambitious sounds dangerous, I said. She smirked. You dated Tiffany. I think you're used to dangerous. There. She pointed to a rough sketch. This would be shade. This, sun. I want it to be ours. Not fancy. Just functional and solid. I nodded, not just at the plan, but at the metaphor of it all. Because that's exactly what our life was turning into, something intentional. Rooted. Sustainable. No manicured illusions or champagne expectations, just 2 people showing up and getting their hands dirty, literally and otherwise. Later that night, she asked me something over spaghetti. Would you ever want to get married again? I didn't answer right away. Not because I was scared, but because I wanted to give her the respect of thinking before I spoke. Finally, I said, only if the relationship feels like this. Like a backyard blueprint. Not a destination wedding. She grinned and reached across the table. So no matching robes that say wife of the party? I choked on my water. God, no. Good, she said. Because I already burned the catalog. That night, I lay in bed with Harper curled up next to me, breathing slow and steady, and I thought about the man I used to be, the one who mistook pressure for passion and sacrifice for love. He'd learned the hard way. But he'd learned. And in his place was someone who finally understood. You don't build a life on borrowed money and fake status. You build it on quiet nights, good soil, and the kind of love that doesn't need to be rescued, just respected. It happened one morning in the most ordinary way, no dramatic music, no slow-motion moment of clarity. I was sipping coffee on the porch in my worn hoodie, Harper sitting across from me, flipping through a gardening book, when she said it. You ever think about kids? She didn't mean right now. It wasn't a trap question. Just a gentle lob into the air, like a test balloon. I stared into my mug and thought about it. And surprisingly, I smiled. Because the man I was a year ago would have panicked, suddenly imagining diaper prices, private school tuition, and whether or not a baby would judge his HVAC job the way Tiffany used to. But the man I am now? He thought about tiny muddy shoes on the porch. He thought about bedtime stories and little hands helping plant tomatoes. He thought about a daughter who'd never be taught that love meant silence, or a son who wouldn't watch his father hand over his self-worth in monthly payments. Yeah, I said. I do. Harper closed the book, her smile a little sideways. You'd be a good dad. Only if you're the one teaching math. Oh no. She laughed. That kid's gonna be great at ductwork and terrible at fractions. We both laughed, and just like that, the future didn't feel heavy. It felt possible. The funny thing is, Tiffany still shows up in my story, not as a villain anymore, but as the turning point. The chapter one had to live through to understand who I wasn't, and what I'd never settle for again. I don't hate her. I don't pity her. I just don't carry her with me. Some people are a warning. Others? They're a reason. And Harper? She's both feet on the ground, head in the plan, and hands in the dirt. She's the reason. That afternoon, we started building the garden wall. She measured. I drilled. The dog barked at the wheelbarrow like it owed him rent. And when the first panel went up, we stood back and looked at it in silence. It's crooked, I said. Very, she agreed. But it's ours. We high-fived. Sometimes peace doesn't look like a miracle. Sometimes it just looks like lumber and bad math, and someone who shows up. The first time Harper met my mom, she brought banana bread. The real kind, brown butter, walnuts, even the little note on top. Not gluten-free. Full chaos. My mom took one bite and said, "Oh, thank God." I was starting to think you only dated girls who eat air and lemon water. Harper laughed. Said, "Nope. He's upgraded." I stood there in the doorway, watching the two of them click like puzzle pieces. No awkwardness, no fake compliments, no performance. Just comfort. It hit me harder than I expected. Because with Tiffany, it had always been about managing. Prepping. Rehearsing the version of ourselves that wouldn't embarrass her in front of her curated life. With Harper, there was nothing to manage. Just room to exist. That night, after dinner and too much wine, my mom pulled me aside while Harper helped clean up in the kitchen. "She's real," she said quietly. "Yeah," I said. "I know. And you're different," she added. "Lighter. Like you finally put down whatever it was you kept carrying around." I looked over at Harper, barefoot, laughing at a wine stain on her shirt. "I didn't put it down," I said. "I let it go." Later that night, Harper and I walked home hand in hand. The sky was that soft, inky blue that feels like a beginning. She asked if I was okay. I was quiet. Thinking. Just realizing. I said, I used to think love was this uphill climb. Constant work, constant sacrifice. Like if I wasn't exhausted, I wasn't doing it right. She nodded. That's not love. That's a hostage situation. I laughed. Because she was right. Love isn't hard because the people in it are impossible. It's hard when one person's building and the other's burning the blueprint for fun. And real love? It's not a luxury brand. It doesn't post receipts. It doesn't scream through voicemails at 3 a.m. from a club bathroom. It sits on porches. Builds garden walls. Brings banana bread. That night, I kissed Harper on the sidewalk under a busted street light and knew, really knew, I was never going back. 1 year to the day after Tiffany called me from that Miami club, I stood on a different porch, with Harper, 2 mugs of coffee, and a dog trying to eat a bee. We just finished planting grapevines along the back fence. They were crooked. One leaned like it had regrets. Harper named it Doug. "Doug's got character," she said. And I thought, so do we. Inside, our house smelled like cinnamon and fresh paint. The couch was secondhand. The rug didn't match. But everything in that space was ours. No secrets. No games. No glitter-stamped debt. Just a life we built without burning through someone else's. I walked to the corkboard in my office. Pulled one last thing off, a scrap of paper I'd kept pinned for too long. A screenshot of the club tab Tiffany once begged me to pay. $8,342. 19. I folded it once, twice, and dropped it in the trash. Not out of bitterness. Out of completion. Tiffany was never the point. She was the lesson. The real story is this. I learned the difference between being someone's partner and being their parachute. One breaks your fall. The other just breaks you. Harper came up behind me and wrapped her arms around my waist. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. I kissed her forehead. "Nothing," I said. "Absolutely nothing." And I meant it. For the first time in a long time, my story didn't end in fire. It ended in peace.